It's not a problem.
You're on, Tilly, go ahead.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order. Jen, will you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Thune?
Here.
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm here.
Commissioner Waldner? And Mayor Denner.
Here. We have the agenda in front of us.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Not seeing anything under appearance and acknowledgement. We'll move down in consent calendar. Anybody want anything removed from the consent calendar?
If not, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll go into unfinished business. Authorize mayor to sign application Dakota State University permit to occupy the right-of-way Northwest 3rd Street and North Van Alps. Chad, did you have anything to start off with? If not,
I don't have anything to add.
okay. Anybody in the audience want to come up and say anything about it?
Sure, if I might, Mr. Mayor?
You bet. Could you state your name?
Certainly.
Okay.
Thank you. Stacy Krumark with Dakota State University, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you again. Sorry I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, but I know there was a good discussion, a lot of information that was shared, a lot of debate on pros and cons, and we certainly took that information back as a university in our evaluation of our proposal. We also spoke to a number of other individuals, spoke with the school district, spoke with the church again, and looked at the pros and cons of the proposal that we had before you 2 weeks ago. And based on that analysis, we continue to believe that this would be the best proposal for parking in the Van Epps Place, which is the name that we have called the former parish property. Certainly can go through some of those pros and cons again. I think last time that we were before you, we really outlined a lot of that information, and so just a few other pieces that I wanted to touch base on to make sure that we had all the data and information before you. The place that we are under construction right now, or renovating right now, will have 23 upper class students housed in that location. Again, upper class students. I think we had some questions about just the types of students. We did go back into our records and look at the conduct records of our students that will be placed there. We've had 0 issues with those students, or 0 conduct records. Now, conduct record could be as minor as a noise violation in a residence hall to anything more extreme than that. So if past performance is any indication, these will be very well mannered students in that area. We also looked at the schedules of our students just to see what their time of day and when they would be leaving this housing area and going to campus. Because obviously there's a concern or question about the morning traffic around 7:30, 8 o'clock when school in the K-12 system is beginning, and then in the afternoon when students are returning to St. Thomas and back and forth. Based on our schedules that we have for these students, our estimate would be there'd be maybe 1 to 2 cars if the students are driving. And in all reality, some students are probably going to drive even if it is a block or 2, but I think that might be something we see exactly how that will be. But based on the schedules, there's only 1 student 2 days a week and a couple students 3 days a week, so probably 1 to 2 cars departing 7:30, 7:45, 7:25, depending on what their schedule is in the morning. And then the afternoon will be very much a quiet back and forth. So our opinion, based on the data, is that the traffic concerns generated from students living in this location will be very minimal as it pertains to those busy times in the school district or the St. Thomas school area. Just a couple more items. The proposal that we have before you actually does not utilize any of the street, and I think that was discussed 2 weeks ago. We would be constructing, according to this proposal, using some of the right-of-way and some of the DSU property. The current sidewalk that is there would actually be moved closer into the center of the DSU property to allow for the parking diagonal to be further into the DSU property, and so the bumpers of the cars, so to speak, would not protrude out into the street, but rather be within the actual footprint of the curb and gutter that is currently there. So our opinion would be that that would actually make the street more visible, because there wouldn't be any cars not only protruding beyond the curb, but there wouldn't be any cars parallel parked within 3rd Street or Van Epps Avenue, thus making that traffic flow a little bit better. The residents of this facility, Van Epps Place, will also have a residence hall RA that oversees. That's a DSU employee. It is a DSU student. But it would be the same governance and procedures that we would have for any of other residence halls. So same policies, same procedures, whether you're students living in Emory Hall or Van Epps Place. So I think that was just some other information that we wanted to make sure that was clear and understanding that we have that data. And again, as we looked at the information that was brought forward 2 weeks ago and other information that we've collected, and since we've acquired this property, all of the analysis we've done, we still believe that the proposal that's before you is the best solution. There's probably no perfect solution, but I believe this would be a best solution. And then, of course, we as commissioners have the joy and honor of making the decision of what is best for the community, and we absolutely would respect that. So I will stand down for any questions and certainly entertain those now or at a later time.
Yeah, I have a question for you. As Mr. Cruzmark has said, that they were going to push the sidewalk into their property. Do you have any concerns about that?
What we have done is typically we try to keep the sidewalk entirely in the public right of way, the setback, and actually the ordinance says that, but it's not a zoning ordinance. It says that that should be about 6 inches on the street side of the right of way. However, there are exceptions that have been granted over a period of years, particularly when it's related to what I'll call the sidewalk program and new installations. There may be a tree or some other obstruction that the landowner makes a request to put it on the private property, and then typically what we do at that point is enter into an easement agreement with them where they grant the right for that sidewalk to be there to prevent, among other things, to prevent subsequent landowners where that sidewalk may be on private property to say, no, get off my property, you can't be on my property, and so on. So in other words, we try to write that easement such that it functions just like it as if it was a right-of-way sidewalk. So that's the only thing. It does appear that this sidewalk is wider than our normal sidewalk. It looks like it's 6 feet. Our typical sidewalk is 4 feet 8 inches, and it also appears that from this drawing that about half of the sidewalk will be onto the private property, 3 feet onto the private property. So, do I have concerns? Not particularly.
Is this change, can I ask you a quick question about the sidewalk? So this change in the sidewalk is part of the variance also?
Well, that's part of this proposal.
That's what, yeah,
I would say, yeah, to put this boulevard parking in and shift that sidewalk.
Just
Yes.
okay. That would have to be a separate motion.
There is some language in the separate agreement that we have with the university that deals with the parking around this campus proper, so to speak, in which we deal with this type of thing in that agreement. You may recall when we updated that a year or so ago that we put some language in there to deal with that, because there are currently particularly on Lincoln, I think, and probably a half a dozen other places around campus where this is the case. The sidewalk is, the public right-of-way sidewalk is moved onto the private property, and so that is covered with a clause in that agreement. However, again, to repeat, that agreement is not being implemented here or invoked here. In other words, I think we talked about that last time, so I'll just leave it at that and stand by for questions.
Just to be clear, this isn't a variance request. This is just a permit to occupy right away. That's the only part of this we have control over.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Variant, yeah.
Mr. Kruzmark, do you see a scenario where this does not become student housing? That's the greatest need at the college at this point that I can see. I know some of the neighbors would like to see a roadmap where this doesn't become housing and becomes offices or something, but do you see that as an option?
Thanks for the question. We have 23 students that signed up this spring to live in this location beginning in fall, so in August they will be moving in. As of right now, and Steve Barlow, our housing director, could probably give you more detail, but we will be full this fall, probably close to 100% occupancy. Somewhat related, we are also looking at building another residence hall, and we'll have that coming out later this, probably August, in the Board of Regents meeting, because of the additional growth. So, no, I guess the short answer would be no. This will be housing for us coming this fall and for the foreseeable future.
Even with the new residence hall, this would, even that matures, this would still be. So we continue this.
On your snow removal,
Mm-hmm.
how do you plan on getting that cleaned up so it's no problem to the other neighbors or anything? Do you have a place to push your snow at the present after a snowfall? I know up there at the college you guys kind of push it into the a parking spot and then push it up onto the when you get more time. That's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Here you don't have much room to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Commissioner Phil. I'd like to say we aren't going to have snow, but we all know what last winter happened, and we will have to deal with that. It is very similar to the main part of campus on Washington, 6th Street, 8th Street, that area, where we will, hopefully the snow is not like last winter, but we'll have to push in one direction or the other, pile it up. We may have to move some of that. We may have to contract out to have it moved. That's kind of the reality we have with some of the other locations that we're managing. Probably the bigger challenge is students moving their cars and when they're here or not here, and working around those cars. This will probably be a little bit easier because of the number of students, and they are right there, so we have a somewhat captive audience, which is more challenging in some of the other residential facilities when trying to ask 100 students to move their cars for a snow alert that we have on campus is a little bit more challenging than 20 cars.
See, if you push the snow in 2 parking spots, that's 2 more cars that's going to go onto the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering how you guys were going to take care of that.
Yeah, I believe our solution, would be that we would need to haul some of that away. We can likely push up into our area on the north east part of the lot a little bit, but we wouldn't want to do too much there and start having a large pile of snow.
That's all I have.
You said you
This time.
reached out to the school districts. I'm assuming Mr. Jorgensen.
Yes.
Was he have any concerns about that being a designated school stop for all the schools?
Well, I certainly can't speak for Mr. Jorgensen. I did speak with him, and he did not express any concerns with our parking proposal. I provided that to him, and he didn't have any specific concerns. He did mention that at times in the past, and certainly would be able to in the future, if a location for a bus stop needs to be relooked at for a proposed different location. That's something they do and continually look at, but didn't specifically suggest or request that this parking or the bus stop be moved. Just had that conversation with them.
Were you able to speak to the school district?
I didn't reach out. I didn't get a chance to see Mr. Jorgensen.
And again, I wouldn't want to speak on his behalf, I just spoke with him.
I don't believe we're asking.
Thank you.
No.
What's the likely alternative if we don't approve this permit to occupy right away?
Well, certainly the university wants to work to make sure that there's a good solution for parking for the students that will be living here this fall. Why we believe, one of the main reasons we believe this to be the best solution is that it provides parking such that the students will not want to park within the area on the street. And I think that's something we want to be very conscious of, and if we can provide a solution that keeps students from parking in front of the neighborhood houses or in front of the church, that would be the ideal. Thus the proposal that we've brought forward and why we say it's the best solution.
Thank you.
Have you talked to Mr. Weedy and see if he would lease part of that parking or that lot of his out?
We've talked to several areas about other alternatives, and we don't have anything solidified, nor would we want to disclose conversations that we have, but we have looked at a number of different alternatives and have had conversations with options, but again, we feel this would be the best option as opposed to some other proposal.
Such great parking, I mean, such a great amount of parking in that area with the church there, diagonal parking already, parking on the other side of the street, and Van Epps, and that can be congested in itself without the school buses even. I'm not sure what the answer to this is.
I guess I would like to think that the church that owns the school considered that when they sold this property to the state. I hate the former landowner to restrict the current landowner's ability to develop their land because that's hanging out there. They could drop the kids off and pick them out on the east side of that property, and there wouldn't be an issue. I'm not going to tell them how to do their job or where to put their bus drop, but they're offering to get these vehicles off the street and widen that. If they don't do that, there's going to be cars parked there, and it's going to be narrower, in my mind. There's going to be very minimal traffic. Students hate 8 o'clock classes. They're going to wait till later in the morning. But they're going to be if the car's there at 7:30, it's going to be there at 8:30. Like he indicated, there 1 to 2 students a day will be leaving there. That's not even a amount of traffic worth talking about in terms of traffic flow, but I appreciate the effort the states and DSU's putting in trying to identify parking on this lot because they don't have to. They could just tell the students they got to park on the street there, and nobody wants that.
Is there anybody else? Chad, did you?
No, I didn't have anything for Mr. Kruzmark except for just to point out that this seems to be basically a two-part request. One is the main part of the request, which would be the diagonal parking, would be one thing. So, and then the other, of course, is the occupation of the alley. When I say occupation, I mean it really is just improving it, putting gravel down and such like that. So it might be appropriate for you to consider as you're considering the request if you're in favor of both or in favor of one or the other or opposed to both, or maybe split action, if you will, on how you want to treat the alley versus how you want to
Well, we moved the bus stop over there to the east side of the school. You're gonna lose 2 or 3 teachers parking there. And then you're also gonna have a hazard with the kids running in between cars to get on the bus. I think that's more of a safety issue than what we got right here. So
I think we should leave it up to the school to figure out.
they figured it out. They've got their bus stop.
Right.
Is there any chance the bus stop could be moved down further down the street? Playground is, maybe further down, not in the playground, but across from the playground as opposed to being right behind the diagonal parking.
Oh.
I don't know that, no, we can only ask that of the superintendent of the school board.
I think that's a great idea, but it's,
Well, we got a couple
Nobody
of
here
bus
can do that.
drivers in the audience. Would they like to speak?
I guess as a bus driver, you know, we can certainly ask them to move it down. The issue with that is they're probably going to have to put in some sidewalks, because right now they have sidewalk going out to the curb. They'll have to put some concrete in going out to the curb.
well, if they feel there's a safety issue, a few $100s in concrete could solve that. There's going to be a bigger safety issue if we leave cars parked along the street there. It's going to restrict the flow of traffic.
Well, I guess
So-
you can look at it either way. It's not a safety issue. It is a safety issue to us, but on the other hand, Dakota State should have checked this out for the parking before they bought the property.
Well, they don't have to provide parking. They can just have them park in the street, Bob.
Well, I realize that, but I mean, if they wanted to
Well, that
do
could be their answer. And that doesn't help anybody out. Right?
I think the piece missing here is somebody has to have a visit with the district and ask if there's a chance they could do that. There might be a chance for the parallel parking. I'm not crazy about the parallel parking, but, excuse me, the diagonal parking. But the more I think about it, it makes more sense. But I am not, because I think that folks in the neighborhood are going to suffer, not suffer, it's a little extreme, going to be inconvenienced by the 23 people in that neighborhood parking by their front doors.
Right.
So I think we needed to do some more research on this with the district, and I realize that puts everybody. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But it just puts everybody at another week or so. I don't want to wait 2 weeks, but we can at least check with the district and get if they would be willing to move it down a ways. That might be a great solution for everybody. The safety issue.
But we still want to get those cars off the street, don't we?
Well, then I'd feel okay about going ahead with the parallel parking. Or with the
Can
diagonal
we
parking.
make a separate motion recommending the school district consider?
Well, we can recommend anything.
That's my next question. Who's responsible? Is that
I
us
would-
as a city,
No.
or is it DSU?
To move the school?
To ask the school to move.
Oh, well, I'll leave the logistics up, but, I mean, the school district, or the school has no vested right in the right of way. I mean, they don't have any, this is voluntary on the part
It
of
would
the
be
school.
totally voluntary on their
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Chad, does the school get a permit to occupy the right-of-way when they put in a bus stop or anything?
No, not that have been there for quite some time. There was no separate, that I'm aware of. I think that yellow curb's been painted that way for 30 years probably.
I didn't know if there was a process by which, like, if they establish a new one, that they have to go through a process, and if there was something there.
None that I'm aware of.
I don't think there is.
There's several bus stops all over town. I don't know that there was any, perhaps they coordinated with the police chief. I don't know.
This motion,
the last motion, do you want to speak to that?
Go ahead.
It was not on the table, but it was delay, correct?
Delay.
We can leave the
Right.
delay in place right now if we wanted to go another week, right? We wouldn't have to.
Just
the
take no
delay.
action, David? Would it be appropriate to take no action?
I'm not going to be available next week.
Procedurally, I think you could do either. You could take no action, or there could be motions to continue and table to a certain date.
Was there any?
If you're not going to take any action, we'll have to just obviously notify any and all parties that we deem relevant to this discussion, some of which have come up tonight, if and when we're going to entertain this again.
Was there anybody else in the audience that wanted to speak on this behalf?
Just the only comment I think would be, as far as the school district is concerned, my understanding is they just look at the city of Madison and pick out logistical spots to put kids. And so I think they've ascertained that St. Thomas School is a location in a neighborhood that would be a good place to come and go and pick up students. I can't imagine that they would be married to any particular location at that school. Marshall could, Mayor Dart could speak to that, but I just can't see that that's going to be it. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What do we do again? Steve Hofer, 404 North Van Epps, live in the community. A couple things that I've heard tonight. First, I wanted to thank the commission. I know it keeps getting drug out, but I appreciate the patience of the city commissioners and taking a careful look at it. Both my wife and I are very appreciative of that. A couple of the points I want to clarify is that even though that parking's there, anybody can still park there. Is that correct?
My understanding is.
Okay, so those spots could be taken by anybody. Second, I don't believe DSU has been forthcoming on looking at other options as what this council asked for, I believe what the motion was. Because I know of residents that had to reach out, nobody reached out to them. Not that matters here and there, but it was stated that options were pursued, and options weren't pursued according to my neighbors. And what was the other thing, Jack? And I don't believe we can speak for the school district without school district representatives.
Agreed.
So
Right, right.
I just want to make that clear too, because I'd be anxious to hear their side of things. And then my last point, and I realize the attorney says, you guys need to make a decision, and sometimes we come up with just how we feel. But the fact that students were signed up in April, I believe, or whatever it was, way ahead of time, and the residents were notified again. I think it was someone came to our door July 5th or July 3rd, and again, you guys were notified late too. I just feel for the community and for the citizens of Madison to be aware that when there's housing being proposed from the college, that they be notified, unlike we were, and know what's happening. And I feel like this could have all been avoided, and you could have had made a decision already.
I'm just going to interrupt Mr. Hofer for a minute.
Okay.
I want to be clear that I, as the city attorney, do not think that you have to make a decision tonight. I don't think that you do. I would prefer, for procedure and clarity purposes, that if you're not going to make a decision, that rather than taking no action, that you appropriately table it and set it for a new date, because you do have an application in front of you. So I think it's a little clearer and a little cleaner if this commission's not ready to act tonight, to table it and set it for a date. It's done that once, it has the legal right to do it again. But I think that it's a clearer, cleaner, more efficient process if it is set for the date, because we do have an applicant here, Dakota State University, and I think they're entitled to know when the matter's going to be heard. Sorry.
Thank you. No, agreed. The one last thing I'd like to say is my wife, who wasn't able to attend, had a great idea, and just throwing it out as a suggestion that, in the meantime too, there is public parking by the Armory. There's other public parking around Madison would be easily accessible by students. Again, I realize that you can't, students can still park on the street, I understand that, but I'm just throwing that out, as an alternative that she thought of that's not far from the proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I got one last statement. We can go from there. I'm looking at this as safety. Now, I don't know if it's our responsibility or DSU's responsibility to go talk to the school, see if they will move that bus stop. I would feel more comfortable if it was moved. But I'm looking at this for a safety issue and only a safety issue. And those that live around there, if we do vote this down, I want to make sure everybody's clear. They can just park on the street if they want.
How is it safer if we leave them on the street?
I don't think that's what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying, if we vote this down, all they will do is park out on the street. I just want to make sure the residents.
Sorry, Mayor.
Nope. I just want to make sure the residents know that, because there's no sign saying no parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. But to get to you, Commissioner Corbin, at least you're parking parallel. You're not backing. Backing out would be, to answer your question, I'd rather have
a
them
parallel spot if you're gonna do it right.
Yeah. I just feel it would be safer as parallel than angle.
I've seen people parallel park before. I might argue with
David,
Attempt.
do you think that we should get involved in this? Going to the school and asking them to change their bus drop-off or extend it?
Bob, I don't think there's any harm or legal liability in joining that request with DSU or asking DSU to make that request. I don't have any concerns about that on behalf of the city.
I
Okay,
think
thank you.
we should approve it and request the school district move it. There's no reason we can't approve it and then clear that up.
Could I add one word? Just to clarify, when I did speak with Superintendent Jorgensen, showed him the proposal and basically outlined the pros and cons as we've talked before. He said, I think you've got a good proposal. I don't have any immediate concerns. Let me take some more time to look at that. If needed, we can certainly look at moving the bus stop. So, David had mentioned what is the procedural, and that is probably a good question. We as a university certainly could, or the city could also reach out to the school district to ask them if they would be interested or willing, or at least reevaluate. And my initial conversation with Superintendent Jorgensen was, absolutely, we do that all the time, and looking at what is the right location, not only from a safety concern, but also just from a logistical, where are the students at and where should it be from a drop-off pickup point. So
It may be in DSU's best interest, without trying to evaluate their best interests, if this were tabled again long enough for some form of a joint request or inquiry, at least, from the city and DSU as to whether that bus stop can be moved. What I'm hearing is it may affect how some commissioners vote.
Move to table it for 2 weeks. Long enough to find out about it. The school district, whether they can accommodate a move to make it safer for the student busing.
For 2 weeks?
Sure.
What date would that be?
Because he may have to take it to the he may have to take it to the school board. I don't know, and that 2 weeks should accommodate that, I think.
If there were a request in quickly, I would think so.
Which means talking
August
tomorrow.
2 weeks is August, Travis. Do you want to include that in your motion, please?
Does that interfere with our budgeting concerns at all? No. Okay. Okay, I'll make that motion. August
They're
5th.
going away.
August 5th. Yeah, that's it. August 5th.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a motion to table it till August 5th. Any other discussion?
No, 6th, wouldn't it?
August 5th.
5th?
August 5th?
Excuse me, sir.
Nope.
You want to meet on a Tuesday?
Any further comment, discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll move down to the new business. Number 1, authorize mayor to sign application, SDN communication permit to occupy right-of-way, Washington Avenue, Northeast A Street corner intersection.
Yes,
Chad.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. I can talk about this one, but then all 3 of these are requests from SDN to install some fiber in the right-of-ways. This is common. Whenever they do that, they do not have a franchise agreement with the City of Madison, so this is the method we've chose to document these installations. So the next 3 items are all related to different cable that they're looking to put in the ground to serve their customers.
And you said boring, right?
Pardon?
You said
Boring.
it was going to be boring. Okay.
Correct,
Thank
yes.
you.
With the special conditions listed, I do not have any concerns and would recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign application, SDN Communications, permit to occupy right-of-way, Washington Avenue to Northeast 8th Street corner intersection.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further comments, discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Number 2, authorize mayor to sign application SDN communication permit to occupy right-of-way Washington Avenue, Northeast 11th Street corner intersection.
Same comments.
Same comment.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further comment, discussion? Not. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Number 3, authorize mayor to sign application SDN communication permit to occupy right-of-way Northeast 11th Street, Washington Avenue to North Madison High School.
I'll move that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment, discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Number 4, discuss removal of the tree in the boulevard. This one's mine, I guess. Well, it is mine. I have reached out to all the commissioners, Gary and Mike, to remove a tree from on Egan Avenue down between Foley's Bar and Richmond's woman's office. I guess I just wanted to make sure it was clear to everybody that we're taking we only look at trees on case-by-case basis. And we look at it if it's disease, dead, or safety issue, which would be a safety issue, and if it was causing destruction. And this one is, so I just wanted to make it known that we were going to remove that and what the reasoning was for.
Why we're removing it?
It is heaving up the concrete about, what would you say?
About 10, 12 feet around it.
12, oh yeah.
It is, yeah.
We just had some new squares poured a couple years ago. Now they're already up an inch or so above. And it's a safety concern, you know, with homecoming parade and with night out and everything.
I really like that tree, Bob.
We're gonna, you know, and I've noticed around town there's a couple more the same way.
I could see if Mike could transplant it into your,
It's not gonna, it's too big.
okay.
It really doesn't need to be any action on this. I don't think.
No, it was more that we're making this decision because it was causing destruction, and I just didn't want the public thinking they had a tree in front of their house in the boulevard or in front of their store that they would call us up and we'd take care of it. So,
Are you gonna replace it?
Mike,
Mike, you want to mention something? We've talked about ways to replace the trees as they come up. We haven't come up with anything right now. I did check with not that the owners have, you know, it's not in front of their Foley's barn and Weber Abstract.
It's a beautiful spot for a tree, a lot of opens.
All of them, they were fine with it. They were appreciative we stopped in. And one of the constituents of Foley's did say that he had caught his bumper on that curb back out one time. So, you know, I think it's, you know, we Gary and I think Mike, former mayor, and I, we kind of did a walkthrough last year of the trees, and I think there's a lot of reason not to remove them unless it's absolutely necessary. But in this case, I think it's probably worth it. So, I don't mean to steal your thunder, Mike. Go ahead if you want to speak.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with. I think you guys covered every aspect of it. I mean, I'd like to keep a lot of the trees down on Egan Avenue. But that one I can understand and support the decision for taking it. But I don't want to take them all by any means.
I think we got to look at 10 years from now what we're going to have for trees. And these aren't ash trees, so I think we're going to look at that too. I mean, we got a legitimate safety concern. We could take them out, but if we just want to get rid of them because they're a nuisance, I think we got to relook at that.
I think it's well said.
10 years from now, I think our town will look a lot different just because of it.
Are you taking ash trees out in boulevards?
Correct.
Really?
Yes. Because if you're not planning on treating them, they don't need to be treated yet. Because it hasn't been found within 20 miles of Madison. 15 miles is where the cutoff is. We all know emerald ash borers in Sioux Falls. So in return, we're trying to get ahead of the thing, because when they find it, it's going to be a pretty significant deal in the city, especially on private property and dealing with that aspect of it and on public property. So if there's storm damage, we have a lot of poor ash trees in our boulevards, and we started removing them 10 years ago. I mean, Ted started marking them, they remove them because it was in Chicago, out in Sioux Falls. So, and they figure probably in the next few years that whole ash borer will be in town. So,
It's really
It's
sad.
15 miles. We have within 15 miles. We have sightings of the emerald ash borer. Or is it just a lot of woodpecker?
Northern Sioux Falls is the farthest north I've heard of it as. I've heard rumors of Landreau and Del Rapids, but nothing's been relayed to the state forestry department. Northern Sioux Falls is the farthest north I've heard.
I say that with woodpeckers because through your education, I came to realize that and woodpeckers love emerald ash borer. Correct?
Correct.
And so if you get a lot of woodpeckers, they're fat woodpeckers. They're happy guys because they're eating emerald ash borer like crazy.
Anything you can do to save that tree on Egan?
They say that
Yeah, can you mud jack that curb up or something?
we can cut the sidewalk out.
I should, if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
We did inspect the sidewalks 2 years ago, and we did the repairs last year. I think, unless I'm off by a year, but regardless, either last year or the year before, we redid the sidewalks, and we did get rid of all the trips on the east side of this tree. Where the sidewalk is elevated currently is actually adjacent to the curb. For some of you may have not been in that vicinity, so I don't believe at this point it's a walking hazard for people walking north and south on the sidewalk. Now, if somebody's stepping up on the curb, yes, perhaps. But I just want to let you know that we've addressed these with our sidewalk inspection program, and we continue to do that. And every year, it is true that we do have several squares on the boulevard along Egan Avenue that are repaired, and those are typically repaired. We the city paid for this one because we're the adjacent landowner. Where they happen in front of other properties, those adjacent properties would be responsible for repairing those.
And we are looking at talking about eventually as they start to come out, what we'll replace them with. You know, but right now we haven't settled on anything.
That's a good looking tree.
It is a nice tree, actually. I
It
mean,
is.
They're all iron. It's just not
Nice
crazy
to have a
about
little
all
shade
those.
in that neighborhood. I mean, there's a lot of asphalt there.
But anyway, we are going to take that one out. We're going to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and just get rid of the tree because we try to problem, but do the best we can to hang on to it as long as we can as long as it's not super destructive. Good news is it will possibly assist in the snow removal there at some level. You know, how? I don't know, but it's going to be open. We just fixed that lot. We push it out in the street. You know, it's not. Well, you really just are.
Yeah.
Mr. Snowman over there.
He likes that tree.
Yeah.
So
That tree, I'm gonna put that tree in your front yard. Anyway, you guys have anything else? We wanna talk about this?
Chad, did you talk to J&M? Is that who we do?
No, Mike takes care of any tree cutting down.
No, but I mean for the sidewalk,
Oh.
repairing the sidewalk. Is it J&M or J&M?
Yeah, we could have the sidewalk people that we currently have. It would have to be cut down, probably ground. I'd say there'd be
There's some
pretty
power
big
wires.
aerial.
There's power wires in every one of them tree boxes, so just,
Not just.
Sounds
not
expensive.
just,
Sounds expensive.
You have any other suggestions other than putting sidewalk back in?
Oh, no. I wasn't, when we were talking about grinding the stone,
Yep.
is what I was trying to suggest, is that it's gonna be, it'll be a challenge to grind it out without, because there's electrical box in each one of them.
Right now, you have to stake the stumper down somewhere, and hammer the stake in, and that's what we're worried about more than anything. It's with it, the stumper would be, it's all right now, so.
Well, just be careful.
It's doable, and,
Yep.
and I would like to replace it with a large concrete flower planter or something in the same place of it, to try, since we're removing the tree, I mean, I would like to replace it with something. I don't know if another tree would be the best avenue to take or not.
It's too bad the real ones don't grow here. They don't take up much root space.
What's that?
Palm trees.
No.
There's electrical near the bases of each one.
Yeah, there's an
Yeah.
electric box,
I've
I
never
think
seen
you could use that at one point in time for Christmas lights and every one of the trees downtown. And when we did the grades, I found something, it was gonna be cut all the grades out because they're low. But I will say, with Commissioner Corbin, other towns have done downtown beautifications and spent large amounts of money when they removed all their trees.
And they take them out to beautify downtown.
Like Brookings,
They take the trees out.
they took all their trees down.
Well, they have trees downtown,
Put
though.
new ones all in
Oh,
there. And it
different
was-
trees.
It was a large sum of money to do.
Basically redid their entire Main Street. That is major money.
Any other?
Motion to adjourn.
We
Oh, we
gotta
have
go
something
to-
else?
Yeah, we got public public comment.
Pass that down. There might be one on there, sir.
Let's see, Stacy's taking care. Dave Willett, come on up.
My name's Dave Wheeler, Northeast 8th Street. And 8 years ago, when we came to Madison, there was a 10-acre lot south of our house, would be the end of Heritage Drive. And it was no problem for the first 4 or 5 years. It was all grass. You could walk dogs, whatever. And they got the idea, the owner got the idea it should be farmed. And so they tore it all up, killed the grass, tried to farm it a year or two, and then scrapped the farming, and it hasn't been touched since. And now it's full of noxious weeds, volunteer trees, you name it. And it's been that way 5 years now. It's a terrible mess. And all the neighbors there fight for thistle seeds blowing in their yards constantly. Right now, they're going to seed right now, and the seeds are blowing all over everywhere. It's basically too late for this year again. Just do any spraying, it's too late, but the guy could mow it down and make it look better. Right now, it's unbelievable what it looks like.
Next door to you?
Yeah.
It's in the back, to the,
It's to the back, to the south of us.
Okay.
It's 10-acre property.
Or if we could just take that over.
Who owns that?
I think Mark Johnson Brothers, I don't know if they got it together. I don't know.
and you have talked to Police Chief Meyer about it,
Yeah.
correct? Last
They're
year?
aware of it.
Okay. I stopped in and he was out. So that's why he wasn't here, but I can talk to Police Chief Meyer when he gets back, yeah.
Mike has a question.
I got it. I'm just gonna fill you in. I talked to Mark Johnson about 3 days ago about it.
Okay.
Late last week, about taking care of it, because we received some complaints. So, and he said he was gonna get it taken care of this week, is what he said.
Mowing is the only alternative now. Spray is good, it is no good. The seed weeds, it's all gone to seed now.
Okay.
And it's 8-10 feet tall, 8 feet tall out of it.
North Street, behind Antelope?
Yeah, it's behind
East of
Antelope
Antelope.
and Cambridge, what's the one?
Heritage.
Windsor Estates, there's a chunk in there.
Okay.
And it's gonna be, tomorrow it's gonna be tough because
Thanks,
there's
Mike.
concrete, there's asphalt, there's rock, everything dumped out in there. So it's gonna be a chore to clean up.
Does this ag land fit under our grass ordinance as well, or how do we?
It's zoned agricultural, so we technically cannot use it if.
Thank you. Really?
We've dealt with this multiple times in the last 5 years, this parcel. But we don't have no teeth by the way the ordinance reads, because it's zoned agricultural. They removed topsoil because at one time it was gonna be a development, all the black topsoil was piled up in the southeast corner of it. And they're very understanding usually about it, and plow it or mow it or spray it after we call.
It's never been mowed or sprayed.
I can attest that they did spray it last year because I went out there because we were gonna go weed for it.
So,
Thank you for coming. And,
yeah.
Yes, thanks.
I've heard rumblings, but nobody's actually come and voiced their concern. It shouldn't come to this, but thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, but I just want to brought to your attention. And then one other matter is, I know things have been a tough go this spring, summer, but Marshall can attest to it, but the buses, we got a real problem on Division for the trees. We can't get a bus down them now. I took a bus down 2 weeks ago and I had to drive clear to the one side to get down the street. So it just wiped the top of the bus right off. It'll take the lights off and everything else we got.
And you don't want that?
I appreciate that, because I might have to pay for fixing them. I know, but if we could, Division is the worst, but we could, maybe do something with the worst spots to help.
To add to
this
that,
so-
when I drive down Division, the antenna on my pickup hits the trees.
Yeah, mine do.
That's how low they are. And on the sidewalks, they're even lower.
Is this a code enforcement
There's an
issue,
ordinance
or?
of 12 foot above the street and 10 foot above the sidewalk. And I would say that that is probably up to the property owner to trim up your trees.
Oh, Gary.
That's what I was gonna ask, if that's their responsibility or ours, we've always been into a fight about that. I mean, we go in there and if we had a stick that was 12 feet high and 10 feet high in the sidewalk, we're gonna cut every tree down. So where's the, you know, it's just, I mean, definitely we gotta get division because we got a seal coat up this year.
You go down with the truck up in the air, you'll be cleaning them out.
I know that some people get very upset when you go in and cut trees, but sometimes when they bust your mirrors off your snow equipment or your beacon lights off your machines, you gotta step up and take care of it. And we used to do it when we seal coated. We always went and trimmed back so the truck boxes would not break them off. But we haven't seal coated yet this year. I don't know if we are. But
Are we seal coating this year, Gary?
So we can get something to seal coat, we're still working on the streets. Like I said, we're behind, like everybody else. But yeah, the division is what I want. I would like to go in there and cut them, not have to ask them back and find out. I mean,
I thought the city could trim the boulevards without,
you know,
I don't know, I thought they could. Because
Can I speak on that?
Yep.
So we have trimmed multiple boulevard trees. And and there is certain areas where we have landowners that come out and we almost have to have a police escort while we're there.
Really?
Dealing with people on their trees. So it's actually 14 foot on main thoroughfares, 12 foot on side streets, and 10 foot on the sidewalks is the way the ordinance reads. So.
Let's say that again, Mike.
The height, the height?
The height.
Okay.
And is it the homeowner, and that's where we've talked about tree ordinances, is it the homeowner's responsibility? Is it the city's responsibility to trim them to ordinance? Do we assess that trim and charge to the homeowner on these trees? It's a question that needs to be discussed in the future sooner than later. So, I mean,
You want the commission to discuss it in an open meeting and give you direction? Is that what you're looking for?
well, we gotta have somebody that stands behind it.
Yeah, you do, I agree.
According to Mr. James, he emailed this. According to section 20-41 of our ordinance, requires people owning the land adjacent to the public right-of-way to keep trees in the right-of-way with 10-foot clearance over the sidewalk and 12 feet clearance over the streets.
And just not to try to we do trim them, but we used to go by that rule, but then a few years ago, there were some people that were getting their trees trimmed, calling, and we were trimming dead branches and everything else out, pruning their branches to make them happy, because they were calling and complaining. So now, there's a fine line, do we do it citywide, do we do it on a complaint basis, what do we do? Because I agree with you 100% with the truck clearance and everything else. But what the street crew does most of the tree trimming, and a two-man park department, trying to run a.
Could be a full-time job.
And it,
but I'm just saying the worst could be done.
yeah. And we did trim some on Division last year, some maples that were really bad.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we had a similar problem in Fort Pierre, and we went through and we had our sticks and we went and measured everything, and then we put surveyor's tape around the trees with different colors. One color was to tell them that they had to trim the trees in the street. The other color was to tell them they had to trim the trees in the sidewalk, and virtually every tree had both. And we went down through every thoroughfare and marked them all out, and then gave them I don't think it was a month or something like that. And if they didn't have them done, then we came back and did them for them, and then billed them.
But we don't have that in our ordinance, correct? Okay.
We may. I don't know if we do or not.
I don't know if we have the resources to do that. What's everybody that works for the city going to go and check a few blocks?
It's kind of a double. Do we have the resources to check it, but do we have the resources to actually do the work?
Right.
What's worse?
Both.
Yes.
But if you don't do it, it's not going to get any better.
Correct.
Right.
And it took 2 years to get it to where it was in compliance. But then we weren't smashing out the lights on top of the trucks when we were plowing snow, breaking windshields, tearing the beacon off the top of the street sweeper. I mean, there were some streets you couldn't even sweep because you couldn't get down it with a street sweeper.
I would like to start with the snow routes and then go to the next year that you're gonna seal coat. It's just, yes,
And it's gonna be seal coat this year.
that's gonna be.
That's what we're planning on, so, by both sides, we should get division, but we should be looking, I think that's a good plan, Gary.
Because you start using it pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you
In
can.
another 6 weeks, they'll probably lift up a little bit with the weight of the leaves coming off, but still, it's not right there next summer. We're gonna be right back in the same boat.
Well, we can get the snow routes started with, then we'll start there. We probably need to look as a commission, do we have the ability to assess that to people?
Well, maybe with all these ash trees, we need to add somebody, and they can just go around trimming trees and cutting ash
And we were
trees.
talking about that as part of our budget request for this next year. We don't, what we usually have, either that or subcontractor.
Both the women's and men's penitentiaries have tree crews, and they will come and do projects for you. They may not do a whole bunch of wholesale right-of-way trimming, but if you've got projects, they'll come and do projects for you at a reasonable cost. So that's something to keep in mind. We use them, both the female and male crews in Fort Pierre, and did a lot of tree trimming.
Chainsaws.
Chainsaw gang.
That Mike can handle that.
One more comment, just like to pertain to the parking, the DSU parking issue. There's times when there's 2 to 3 buses lined up in that parking, or pickup zone. And like the first bus will go on past the drop zone or the pickup zone to allow the second one to come up to get close. And there's times when, in bad weather, when the teachers, usually there's one teacher out there with these children, and I don't think she's gonna want it when the weather's bad, and they might have to wait 5-10 minutes for the bus to come for the route. She's not gonna wanna stand 100 feet up the road, up the street in the weather. Because the students, they'll stay inside the door of the school there until the bus comes in bad weather. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Yep,
you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention one thing. I could talk to Mike about this on the side, and Will too, but regarding, that's actually not ag land over there.
Ooh.
It's R90.
It is our name.
Correct.
So it's.
For zoning wise, correct.
All right, good to go then.
When,
How can you break it up, keep it in the grass? Just did that?
I think originally he was gonna develop it.
Yeah, he was.
No, yeah, he didn't have a sign up for sale.
There's, if it's existing ag land, we don't tell people they can't, use it. I think, but as far as any control you may have depending on zoning,
Mayor Lindsay took care of this last year.
yeah.
He talked to him once because.
Really go
there was
R60.
letters and all that stuff.
Like I said, 5 years ago.
Should go R60.
Mike, when did you say he was gonna take care of it?
He was supposed to take care of it this week.
This week now?
R60
Yeah,
name,
I
right?
contacted him.
Okay,
I'd check.
Thank you for your time.
you
You
bet.
bet. Thank you for
I
coming.
will follow up on that, Mike.
Smaller lots. Or the wheels will come off.
Okay, any announcements? No executive session. Do I have a motion to go into adjournment?
So moved. Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Hand that back to Jen, please.